And you know what? Maybe at this point, let me just elaborate what I skipped before to explain what is the traditional Jewish opposition to Zionism, even without any crimes, even if it would have been peaceful. If you allow me just 2 minutes. In addition to what I started earlier, that even if you're not Jewish, you understand, if you're human, you understand that these crimes being committed in Palestine is unacceptable. But it happens to be according to Judaism, even if this whole state of Israel will be in total peace, it'll still be forbidden. And I'll explain why. And I just want to add, before I start this, I want to say that when we say that the crimes taking place in Palestine is wrong, and if you're human, you understand that this is wrong. If you are Jewish, you even more understand that this is wrong, because all these crimes are not only criminal according to international law. This is not only a violation of human rights. Killing and stealing, oppressing and entire people are true violations of Judaism. But even if this will be in total peace without committing any crime, everybody is going to be happy. Palestine will deliver this state on a golden tray to the Jewish people. And when I say this, Palestine will deliver this, I'm not talking about Britain giving another land to another people. I'm talking about the people living in the land, and the people who might be affected from this will still be willing to give this to the Jewish people. According to Judaism, this is forbidden, and I'll explain why. There is, all what Judaism stands for, as I said before, is about the belief in God, the following the Jewish religion, and there are basics of Jewish belief, which is the core of the Jewish of Judaism. One of the basics of Jewish belief is the concept of exile. Jewish people are in exile by divine decree. And if I step back one step, there is a famous concept which is always being used in Zionist propaganda, which is the promised land. God promised the Holy Land for the Jewish people. Now, this concept is a true concept, but it's being misused in Zionist propaganda. How? Why? Because they only show you one side of the coin. They don't show you the other side of the coin. Yes, God promised the Holy Land for the children of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. This promise was fulfilled after the exodus from Egypt. The Jewish people were brought into the Holy Land. According to Judaism, we didn't inherit the land by our might and by our power. There's a verse in Psalms that says, not by a sword did they inherit the land, not their arm didn't help them. It was the word and the will of God who did it. This is what was accepted by Jews throughout all ages. Then, the land was given to the Jewish people, but it was given to the Jewish people on condition. There's a verse twice in the Torah in Leviticus that says, and the land should not reject you because you defile it. In other words, if you defile the land, if you don't, if you are not in the level of holiness God requires of you, you would be expelled from the land. And there are many verses. We say this in Shema, we say this 3 times a day. If you would worship idols, you would be banished from the land. Unfortunately, several hundred years after the Jewish people were brought into the land, they were warned by God through the prophets that you need to repent, otherwise you would be exiled. Unfortunately, this is what happened. The temple was destroyed by the hands of the Romans. Jewish people were driven into exile. But according to Judaism, what was accepted by all Jews throughout all generations, without any exception, that this exile, even though it happened through the hands of the Romans, this was a direct decree from God, a divine decree, which Jewish people are required to accept, whether it is comfortable or it isn't. And we are forbidden to end this exile by any physical means. Here's the point. We are forbidden to end exile by any physical means.
In other words, we cannot fight and defeat whoever is there and take their land back.
Exactly. It's not only that we are forbidden to fight the nations who are living there, which is one of the rules of exile. We are forbidden to immigrate in mass immigration into the Holy Land, even without fighting, even if it would be in accordance with the people living there. Mass immigration into the Holy Land is totally forbidden. Individuals are allowed, and this was the case throughout all generations. Individual Jewish people did immigrate to the Holy Land, not with the purpose of taking power, not with the purpose of disturbing any peace, but to be loyal citizens, exactly how Jewish people are required to live in exile, to be loyal citizens in the countries where they live and be in peace with their neighbors. Okay, now, this was accepted by all Jews throughout all generations without any exception, without any doubt, without any disagreements or dispute. Until the beginning of Zionism, the movement of Zionism, the philosophy of Zionism, which came about not by religious scholars, religious rabbis, or religious leaders. This came about by Theodor Herzl and his friends, people who are not only totally secular, who didn't follow anything within Judaism, they were heretics, they didn't believe in God, and they hated God and his religion.
And they rejected the whole notion of Judaism and even the Orthodox Jewish community, the observant Jewish communities.
Right. This is a whole different discussion.
The state was going to be for them anyway.
Right. And these people, and only these people, could have come up with a philosophy which is so contrary to Judaism. Now, I always ask, if the philosophy of Zionism is in accordance with Judaism, if the philosophy of Zionism is in favor of the Jewish people, then how come brilliant Jewish scholars, leaders of entire communities for generations, didn't come up with this brilliant idea? And the answer is very simple. There was, in several occasions in history, this question came up whether we should buy some land and make some kind of a country for the Jewish people. And the response from the Jewish rabbis was, no, this is not accepted in Judaism, and we cannot and we should not do this. And again, this was accepted throughout all generations. Now, this came about by Theodor Herzl and his friends, people who didn't follow anything in Judaism. Originally, they didn't even intend to use Judaism for their movement, because their movement was nothing about Judaism. It was nothing about following traditional Judaism. It was a totally new concept, and they had no interest whatsoever in Judaism, in the practice of Judaism or the belief of Judaism. They came to a point where they realized that they have to incorporate religion into their movement. Otherwise, they wouldn't have the support needed for the movement. Now, it ended up being a very strange situation where you have a secular movement and a heretic movement misusing a religion that they refuse to follow and using it to justify or to profit or to gain support of masses, which doesn't make any sense. It's just like a hypocritical idea.
I think it was Ilan Pape, the historian, who said they don't believe in God. They only believe God gave them the land.
Exactly. Now again, this explains the real root of the foundation of the traditional Jewish opposition to Zionism. And this is an opposition to Zionism, as I said, even if it doesn't affect anyone. Even if it doesn't commit any crimes to other people, it is in total violation of Judaism and goes contrary to very, very basics of Jewish belief. But when this happens in Palestine, by adding so many crimes to it, which is not only crimes according to international law, which are true crimes in Judaism, this just gets these violations of Judaism to a new level, which makes everything so much more serious. And you're not only committing a crime between you and God, you're committing a crime between a person to another person, which is a whole additional crimes in Judaism. Now, I always say there's no way to justify this movement of Zionism, whichever way you look at it, whichever approach, from whichever angle you deal with this is totally criminal, anti-God, anti-Jewish. And not only, as I said before, not only a catastrophe for the Palestinian people, but ends up to be a catastrophe for the Jewish people as well. I once approached, I meet so many people. I meet so many Muslims, Palestinians. I meet so many Israelis and hardline Israelis. I meet all different kinds of people. I would have nice conversations. I would have debates, and I would be cursed on. I have everything. Once I met an AIPAC person outside the AIPAC convention in Washington, D.C. And I had a short, nice conversation with him. And I asked him, don't you agree, because many people don't agree, but don't you agree that the creation of Israel and the occupation of Palestine has caused so much hatred towards Jews and loss of lives among the Jewish people? And listen what he said. Yes, I agree, but it was worth doing it. And what I said is, if that's your philosophy that's worth doing it, that's your choice. But I'm a Jewish person and I disagree. I don't want to lose my life for this wicked, anti-Jewish and criminal movement. And what I said at a demonstration a couple of days ago in New York City, we were marching on the streets, and I was asked a question, what I say to the issue that students in the United States complain that anti-Semitism is on the rise, and they are afraid in the college campuses. And what I said is, I don't condone any reaction, as I said before. But if you are a Jewish student on a college campus in the United States and you insist to raise the Israeli flag and identify with the state of Israel, without condoning the reaction, you have to realize, you have to face reality that you are going to pay a price. People will become upset with you, and people will be angry.
They want to condone racism and violence, but they don't want to pay the consequences for condoning racism and violence, basically.
They want to commit whatever they choose to commit and then control the other side, how they react and how they become angry. And I said to him, I choose otherwise. I disassociate myself from all these crimes. I disassociate myself from the Israeli flag, and I have no problem. People love me. All those people that you claim that they hate you, they love me, and I have no problem.
That's very true.